and welcome to Pet Pals. I'm Bethany Davidson, the Humane Educator here at Frederick County Animal Control and Pet Adoption Center. Animal wrangling for us, as always, is our volunteer coordinator, Sean Snyder. And our first guest today is actually our longest cat resident at this point. I think the last time I looked, he'd been with us for over 120 days, which is surprising because he is such a great cat. He is about 2 to 3 years old. He has that great tomcat look. He's got the chubby cheeks. He's as you said, a solid guy, right? In his cage, he's super confident. He's a very chatty guy. He is constantly letting everybody know, hey, I'm here, I want some attention. I can pick him up and hold him. He loves affection. He can also be playful and curious. He has a lot of these great qualities, but I think what really might make some adopters hesitant is the fact that he is FIV positive. And that stands for the feline immunodeficiency virus. And that is an illness that is very similar to HIV in people. So while Barry can live a long, happy, healthy life, he is a cat that you need to be mindful of, keeping him inside, right? Making sure that he's staying current on his vaccinations, because it's really any secondary infection that could pose a problem for Barry because his immune system is suppressed. So he's definitely a cat that always has to be inside, and just really taking care of, if he starts to be sneezy, having him checked out by the vet, making sure that he's getting treated for upper respiratory infections or anything like that. But it's not something that is commonly transferred through, casual contact. So it's not something that is super contagious. It's, deep bite wounds, which we typically see in a lot of our tomcats coming in, because they're the cats that are going to be fighting for territory and things like that outside if they're not yet neutered. We've since neutered Barry, and he's actually one of multiple cats we have in our care right now that are FIV positive. So, the trend in, animal sheltering in the veterinary world with this illness is changing, and they, too, like completely healthy cats, make great pets.
So, yes, he does have FIV. Does that mean he can't live with other cats, or can he live with other cats?
He can actually live with other cats, because of how it's transmitted through those deep bite wounds. As long as he's in a home where the cats get along and there's a good social structure, there's no issues with him living with another cat, because it's not contracted through grooming or licking or through sharing bowls and litter boxes and things like that. Barry and the other FIV positive cats currently live in individual cages, but last year we had some FIV cats that we actually bonded, and they were both FIV positive, but they lived together and were adopted through a rescue organization together. So it is something, if you're properly introducing the cats, that it's not an issue. He can live with whoever he feels comfortable living with, which is a great thing. And we are adopting these cats out. One of the other FIV positive cats, Van Gogh, was recently adopted, and his owner is already touting his praises and how cuddly and great he is and how much she loves him. So Barry and the other FIV positive cats, particularly Nathaniel and Patriot, who are on the adoption floor currently, are going to be great pets for someone too. If you're not, deterred by his FIV positive status and you think Barry's going to be a great addition to your household, the way to start that process of making him part of your family is to go to visit fcac.as.me to book your appointment to meet him. Now, a lot of people are not as into adult cats this time of year. What are they looking for? They're looking for kittens during kitten season. So we do have kittens on the adoption floor, and this is one of them. This is Maxwell. He is part of a litter of 6. They were all named after coffee things. We split them on the adoption floor into 2 cages so that it would be, easier to tell apart, because there were actually 2 orange and white ones like Maxwell, then there were 2 black and white ones, and then 2 all black ones. So we separated them so they were easy to tell apart. People keep asking on social media, and when they visit, they're like, well, tell me more about this kitten. Well, kittens are kind of all the same. There's really active ones like Maxwell. There's ones that are a little bit shyer, but they kind of fall all into the same spectrum. And what I tell people, especially like during adoption interviews and things like that, is like kittens are kind of like your toddlers at home, right? You can encourage them to be certain things, you can raise them in certain ways, but ultimately they're going to be the personality and the person, or in this instance, the cat, that they grow into, right? You kind of just have to love them, whether they're super active and independent, or whether they're a little bit of a Velcro cat and want to be on you all the time and want to sit on your lap and stuff. We're not sure. We can't tell you, but you just kind of have to love them just the same. Another thing that's important to remember about kittens, and other than the fact that their personalities aren't really set yet, is that they're super active and they think everything is a toy. So making sure that you're doing some cat proofing and things like that, so they don't jump over and knock over your grandma's vase that she bequeathed to you or whatever. And shattered into a million pieces. They also are known for a lot of late night play and things like that, pouncing on your feet. They can be super fun, but they can also be honestly like a little bit annoying, right? They're a good mix of all of those things, and it's important to remember that they do grow up into be adult cats. They're not going to stay kittens forever. But we do have plenty of colors and things like that to choose from, and during kitten season, it means that if we don't have what you're looking for when you come in, there's always next week.
So our kitten population has been somewhat up and down this summer. Right now, what's our current population looking like?
So recently they processed about 20 kittens the other day. Now some of them have received applications, much like Maxwell's brother Duncan, who's already gone to his forever home. And we've been fortunate in that, a lot of that population shift has come from rescues coming and pulling animals from us because their facilities are empty. So it gives those animals an opportunity to be seen in a different way, maybe get adopted quicker, but it also allows us to provide more attention and care to the animals that are here in our facility, and to allow some of the other cats that might be overlooked to kind of stand out when people are coming here and looking for those adoptables. But right now, we do have a fair amount of kittens that are available, especially if you're into the cream color. I think we have 8 cream colored kittens right now. So if that's what you're looking for, there's plenty to choose from. To see what we have available, because it is constantly changing, you might just want to make an appointment and come in, and you can do that by going to visit fcac.as.me. Our next guest is actually the largest dog we have on the floor right now, pound for pound. This is Babar, and he weighs about 123 pounds. Surprisingly, he actually walks really nicely on a leash. He has good manners. But still, if you're thinking about taking home a 123-pound dog, you want to make sure you can handle him. He's not going to pull you over or anything like that when he's walking. He's actually a gentle giant, a little slobbery, not the slobberiest, but a little slobbery. He's very laid back. He's calm. He's affectionate. He enjoys attention. Brandy was saying the other day that he does in lab fashion. He enjoys tennis ball and things like that. And he's just kind of a really easygoing guy. Doesn't seem to have any issues walking past the other dogs here in our facility. Just kind of ignores them and is minding his own business. So he has tons of great qualities. He is one of the older dogs at about 5 to 6 years old. And he does have, we're giving him some medication, some joint supplements and things like that for joint health. And he also tested Lyme positive. So those are things that potential adopters should keep in mind. Because his hind end seems to be a little bit sore and tender, and he doesn't really love vet restraint, we have recommended that he go home with children that are teenage and up, or adults only, just so that because of his size, sometimes people kids will think that they can lay on the dog or sit on the dog, and that's something that might be quite uncomfortable for Babar here, and we don't want to set him up for failure or anything like that in terms of what type of home that he would go to. But those are really the only restrictions that he has, because he's such a nice kind of older gentleman, and he's super handsome too.
So since he is Lyme positive, does he need treatment? Does he need further treatment? What's that look like to an adopter?
So we actually see a fair amount of dogs that test Lyme positive here. Usually there are hound mixes. Oh, what a gentleman. Usually they're the hound mixes. So what the typical treatment is 30 days of doxycycline. And then, they will often get a Lyme vaccine. And then you're just looking for, flare-ups. You're looking for that lameness and things like that. And then you would treat them again with another cycle of those antibiotics. So it's not something that's, crazy in terms of the treatment. And again, it's something that we see here really frequently. And it doesn't seem to be a deterrent to adopters in any way, at least in my experience. So if you're, interested in making Babar here part of your home, just following up with that treatment. But definitely come in and meet him, because I'm sure that, like many of the volunteers that come through on a daily basis, you'll fall in love with this big guy. But you can't fall in love with him until you meet him. And the way that you want to do that is by going to visit fcac.as.me to book your appointment. Our next guest is a dog that's quickly becoming one of my favorite dogs. He's also a dog that can frequently be seen in our front office, which speaks to his level of calmness, ability to not jump all over counters and all of those types of things, because he's, the ladies that work our admin desk are comfortable with him being up there with them. This is Draco, and he is a very handsome, we have him down as most of our dogs, terrier mix. I would say more American Staffordshire Terrier look, and he's chocolate. He's 2 years old, so he's getting out of that puppy adolescent stage and getting into that spot where he can be calm, cool, and collected. He is a very kind of relaxed guy. His favorite activities are what you can see right now, putting his butt on people. He wants to sit on you. If he can't sit on you because you're standing, he will sit on your foot. He even poops on trees. He likes to put his butt on stuff. He is a silly guy who is definitely probably the cuddliest, put his butt on stuff, the cuddliest guy that we have here right now. He will play with toys a little bit, but he is more into that affectionate side. He does have he's being treated right now for some skin issues, but other than that, he's an overall really a healthy dog. He's very friendly, doesn't have any issues with the other dogs, which is wonderful. He walks by them without any issue. He can pull a little bit, but he seems to be walking much better on the harness. He is very treat motivated, so that's something that people could work through without much difficulty, but the cuddliness is kind of really what I love about Draco. He was previously owned, and he came here through no fault of his own. The owner said that they didn't have any place to go. We've been seeing that a lot frequently. So not a judgment on Draco at all, just his family didn't have anywhere for them to live, and they didn't think it was fair for him, so they brought him here so we could find him another family.
So Draco's traveled to some off-site events with you. How do you do with those?
So Draco did really well. He went to an event at the library, and he also was one of the dogs that I took to our radio spot. He rode really well in the van, even when, van running, obviously it's hot outside. You had to leave him unattended in the van. He was cool with that. He met lots of people of different ages, different sizes. A little girl sat down on the floor, and he immediately sat in her lap and was like, "Hey, we're best friends now. You have a lap for me." There were cats at the event, and while they were in cages, and while he was curious about them and kind of wanted to look, he was easily redirected away from them. It wasn't any type of an aggressive kind of stance. It was just like, "Oh, what's that? Okay, I'm gonna walk away." And honestly, until they started meowing, he didn't even notice them. He interacted with a blind lady with a walking cane, and didn't seem to be caught off guard by that at all. The only thing that he did that one day at the library was somebody was kind of staring at him. And a lot of dogs don't like to be stared at. In the dog body language world, that's a sign of aggression. So he gave a little bark to say, "Hey, please stop staring at me." And then he was fine once that guy kind of disengaged the eye contact. So he seems to be fine with, any age, and going to be a great dog regardless of the scenario. So if you want to, have a cuddle buddy, somebody who's probably going to take over your bed and your couch and all of those things, you can make an appointment to visit and meet Draco at visitfcac.as.me. Our next guest was named after his appearance. This is Froggy, because he has little frog legs. You probably wouldn't guess how much this dog weighs. You think, oh, he's a super small dog, right? No, this dog weighs 56 pounds. So don't be fooled by his stature. He's a big dog in a little package. He's about 3 years old. We have him down as a terrier mix. A lot of people right now are breeding, pit bull type dogs with bulldogs to get this kind of look. But he is he has a big personality. When they processed him, they noted his rough play style. So because of that, we're thinking that he would do best with older children, because he doesn't always like to share his toys, and he can play a little rough. But they did also note what you're seeing right now, which is his cuddly side. You know, he likes to sit in your lap, and he's very affectionate, and he has a kind of a great little personality. But he definitely is a dog that you know, you want to be prepared for in terms of you know, as you mentioned when you brought him in, you know, because of his interesting size and shape, you know, when he pulls, he lags behind on the leash, but there's, you know, the collars, because of his short neck's not really keeping him, you know, on there too well. So a harness properly fitted obviously would be beneficial for this guy.
So considering his size, stature, all those things that make Froggy, do adopters need to consider certain things with his health or other things?
Yes. So, you know, we always talk about the importance of exercise with dogs, but, you know, breed appropriate exercise. This guy is an inside dog. Like, even though he looks like, you know, a bully, right? You want to think of him as like your Papillon, right? You know, he's an indoor dog. He likes air conditioning. You know, he's going to go outside, maybe run around the yard a little bit, walk around the block. This is not your hiking dog by any stretch of the imagination. Not necessarily even like I'm going to take him out to the brewery dog, because of how he's built. He does have a somewhat brachiocephalic face. He has a very short neck. He's very heavy in terms of his weight. Being outside, not in extreme temperatures, not a great thing for Froggy. You know, potential things like heat stroke are going to come to this dog more quickly, because he's not as able to regulate his body temperature. And dogs in general have a harder time regulating their body temperature, because panting and, you know, sweating through the pads of their feet are really the only way that they can do that. They can't sweat like we can, so you definitely want to take that into consideration if you're trying to make Froggy, or who's one of 3 dogs we have of this stature. We also have Disco and Callie. You know, they're dogs that you want to be mindful of how hot it is, and how far and how much exercise you're giving them when you're walking and things like that. But otherwise, you know, older children we're looking for him because of his rough play style. But he's a fantastic guy who's going to make a great pet for some family. But in order to start that process, what do you have to do? You have to visit. And you can do that by booking your appointment at visitfcac.as.me. Well, Babar is probably our largest dog per pound. Lady is probably our tallest dog. She is a 3-year-old Great Dane mix, and she can be a little bit nervous at first, and she's definitely kind of showing that right now. There's a lot of things going on. She's never actually been in this room before, but according to all of our staff, she warms up really quickly. And she can be a very kind of sweet girl. She just takes that little bit of extra time. They've also noted that she's pretty easygoing. Definitely something that people need to be aware of, though, is that she is a picky eater. We're still trying to figure out kind of what food she likes. So taking her home, you know, we'll definitely tell you what she's been willing to eat here, but that's going to be a process for a minute while you kind of, you know, she acclimates to a new environment. And it could just be she's pickier here because it's stressful in the shelter, which we've definitely seen with some dogs. Right now she is eating and more interested into the wet food rather than the dry food. In terms of treats and stuff, she often spits those out or won't take them. But string cheese has been something that I've found to be effective. So, you know, when she feels pretty comfortable in her kennel, she'll take that willingly. Here, she's still a little nervous trying to figure out, you know, the cameras and all that stuff. She was a previously owned dog, and they did list her as kind of a shy dog, but also a playful dog. They say that she walks nicely on the leash, she rides well in a car, she does like to dig, and, you know, like typical dogs, like she likes to chew on her treats and blankets and stuff like that. And that she's fearful of loud noises like fireworks and thunder, which is not uncommon for many dogs. So they did have a lot of nice things to say for her, and our assessment kind of echoes that. Again, easy to walk, no reaction walking through the dog kennels with all of our other dogs, things like that, and just, you know, still shy and not really showing an interest in toys and foods and things like that. But that might change over time as she gets comfortable here in our facility.
So Lady came to us because her owner, she wasn't getting along with another animal in the house. So do we have restrictions on her as to what type of home she can go with and pets they have?
Correct. Yes, we do. So while she's not seeming to have an issue walking by the other dogs here in our facility, smaller dogs, she likes that, smaller, you really like that, huh? Smaller dogs in a home, she does not do well with. So the dogs that she, if you have an existing dog, you need to have a dog that's lab size or larger. Anything shorter or smaller than that, she does not seem to do very well with, in terms of living in a home environment. And for that reason also, no tiny dogs, none of your, toy breeds, things like that, no cats, no small animals. So really just looking for her to be homed with, a dog like Babar, or, some of, not necessarily the 123-pound labs, but, a dog, maybe Draco size, things like that, would be better suited to living with Lady. And also just making sure that you're doing those proper introductions. You can't just toss some dogs together and hope for the best. There is definitely a good way to do that in a proper way. And we typically go over all of those things in our adoption interview so that we're setting people up for success. If you are interested in Lady, you want to make that appointment to visit her by going to visitfcac.as.me. If you have any questions about her before you stop in, you can always give us a call at 301-600-1546 to figure out the adoption status of a Lady or any of the pets that you've seen on Pet Pals today before booking that appointment to visit. We hope that you enjoyed meeting some of our adoptable cats and dogs, and we'll see you for our next episode with 6 more adoptable pets from Frederick County Animal Control.